Dear student, today we are going to learn more about ionic equilibrium. This is your fourth chapter in your syllabus that carries the 4 marks in your annual exam. Total marks will be the 6, but out of these 6, compulsory there is the 4 marks. You have to solve it. Now, ionic equilibrium that contains the two words. First one is the ionic, second one is the equilibrium. Ionic means what? Ionic is nothing but the in the form of ions. And you know that ions, that is the charged particles, whether the negative or the positive. Equilibria is the plural number of equilibrium. And you know, equilibrium is the state of perfect balance. Therefore, ionic equilibrium, before that, you know this in a previous year, we have seen the one chemical equilibrium. Chemical equilibrium is what? The equilibrium of the rate of the forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction. Reaction, rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction. The chemical reaction is the forward and the backward reaction. That is the same. That is nothing but the chemical equilibrium. In that chemical equilibrium, we have already seen to determine the equilibrium constant. Then the ionization of the solution or the substance. Then a concentration of the solution. Now today we'll see the ionic equilibrium. Means ionic equilibrium is what? Or in this ionic equilibrium, we'll study the species, which species charge the species, whether the negative or the positive. We have to study. Or equilibrium between the ions and unionized molecules in the aqueous solution. We have to study in detail. First, one by one. Now, first, what is the ionic equilibrium? The ionic equilibrium is that equilibrium between the ions and unionized molecules. Then ions and unionized molecules means what? Now see here, let us consider the suppose this is one substance taken a one container. Now if you add this one substance, let us consider the sodium chloride, add this solution and to formation of Na plus and the Cl minus. Means that NaCl which dissociate, that means dissociate Na plus and the Cl minus ions, and some amount of Na or the some amount of the suppose the Ag we have to add it. Then according to the definition of ionic equilibrium, the equilibrium between the ions and unionized molecules. Now here in this solution, the ions means what? That is the charged particles, whether the negative or the positive, and that this that NaCl which dissociate to produce the Na plus and the Cl minus ion. That is Na plus, that is the charged ions. Cl also charged ions. Therefore ions, they are called the ions. Means ions, these ions Na plus or the Cl minus ion. These are the ions. Equilibrium between the ions, and suppose you have to add the Ag. This is unionized. Means equilibrium between that two, ionized and unionized. Or suppose the out of this NaCl, Na plus and the Cl minus, these are the ions, and very few amount NaCl is unionized. Means equilibrium between the ions and the unionized molecules in a aqueous solution or in water is known as the ionic equilibrium. In this ionic equilibrium, we have to study the concentration of the ions. Which ions? The H plus ions, Cl minus ions, OH minus ions. We have to study the concentration and the equilibrium constant. We have to study in a detail, or the ionic species we have to study in detail in this chapter. Now this is about this ionic equilibrium. Ionic equilibrium, because the ionic equilibrium or equilibrium is nothing but the plural number of equilibrium. Now another point, the types of electrolyte. Now in this ionic equilibria, we have to study the charge. We have to study the electrolyte. We have to study the acid or the bases in detail, one by one. Charge. In that ionic equilibria, that contains the number of ions. Na plus, Cl minus, then H plus or OH, like this one. That is ions. Means ions and unionized molecule, that is we have to study. Then another point is the electrolyte. You should know what is meant by electrolyte. We have to study in detail. Now before that, the charged particles, Na plus, Cl minus, H plus, the OH minus, that is called the charged particles. But on the basis of the extent of the solution, the small extent of solution, the electrolytes are divided by two categories. One is the strong electrolyte and the second is the weak electrolyte. These are the two types of electrolyte. But before that, you should know about what is meant by the electrolyte. And water compounds are soluble on the basis of two different compounds. First one is the electrolyte and second is the non-electrolyte. Electrolyte means what? The substance which conduct the electricity in an aqueous solution of the substance is known as the electrolyte. Electrolyte means what? The electro and the light. Electro means what? That means molecule breaking. Molecule breaking means electrolyte is the electricity or the substance which conduct the electricity in a dilute or the aqueous solution of this in that substance is known as the electrolyte. Now that electrolyte which do not conduct the electricity, that is the non-electrolyte, and that electrolyte which classify as a two types. One is the strong electrolyte and second is the weak electrolyte. Strong electrolyte means what? That electrolyte or that is a substance which dissolve completely, almost completely, and that is known as the strong electrolyte. For example, suppose the acid, strong acid, then strong base. These are the example. Which is that the strong acid? The H2SO4 is the strong acid which dissociate to produce the H plus and the sulfate ions, and that H2SO4 is a strong acid, is a strong electrolyte because which dissociate completely or almost completely. Now, for example, suppose you have to take the one container that contain the 100 number of molecules. Means out of this 100 molecules, that is one strong electrolyte. Out of this 100 molecules, near about the 99 or 99% will be dissociated. Dissociated means what? That means separation of ions already exist. You know that dissociation and the ionization. Okay, means dissociation means what? That means separation of ions. And ionization means what? That means formation of ions. That is the one difference between the dissociation and the ionization. Here, that strong electrolyte which dissociate completely, which dissociates almost completely, that is called the strong electrolyte. And therefore, the H2SO4 is the strong electrolyte. H2SO4 is a strong acid. And that is the first type. Secondly, the weak electrolyte. Weak electrolyte is a substance which dissociate small extent. Did it? Small extent. Small means how much? Means out of these 100 molecules, if you add one substance, adding that water, means out of these 100 molecules, so only 2% or 2 molecules are dissociated. That means separated out of this 100. And therefore, this weak, that is called the weak electrolyte. For example, the ammonium hydroxide, that is the base. Ammonium hydroxide is the base, and that ammonium hydroxide that dissociate NH4OH, that dissociate to formation of NH4 plus and the OH minus ions. That is a reversible one. Reversible. Now this is the irreversible one, because the large number are near about the 99% molecules are separated, and that's why that is called the strong electrolyte. And here that is the partially dissociated. Partially means what? Or small action means what? That is the 2% dissociated. Means out of this 100, only 2% or 1 to 2% will be separated. And that's why this ammonium hydroxide is the weak electrolyte which dissociate to formation of ammonium H plus plus OH minus ions. Another example, let us see, the acetic acid is the one substance, it dissociate to formation of the acetate ions CS3, COO minus and the H plus ions. This is also called as the weak electrolyte. This is the weak acid of weak electrolyte. Now, these are the two types of the electrolyte. Now, another and last point, that is a degree of dissociation. Degree of dissociation means what? Now, the degree of dissociation. Now, degree of dissociation, that contains the three words or the two words, degree and the dissociation. And you already know about the dissociation, that means separation of ions. Degree, that means small. Means degree of dissociation, definition of degree of dissociation means what? The fraction of total number of the moles of the substance dissociated. That is a fraction of total number of moles of the substance dissociated to the total number of moles present. And that degree of dissociation, that is written by this alpha. This alpha is nothing but the mathematically, the alpha is nothing but the number of moles dissociated to the total number of moles present, according to the definition of degree of dissociation. That is one fraction. Now let us consider, suppose if you take the 100 molecules or one substance, add in this water to formation of ions, and only 2% dissociated. This 2% dissociated means what? How can calculate the degree of dissociation? Means alpha. This alpha is nothing but how much that substance dissociated. We have to calculate. Now alpha is equal to number of moles dissociated. Now here, out of this 100 total molecules is 100. Means out of number of moles dissociated, means here 2% will be dissociated. Means 2 is the total number of moles dissociated, and how much this out of this 100, means out of this 100, therefore the 0.02 is the alpha. Means this much amount of substance will be dissociated, and that is one fraction, 0.2, and that fraction is known as the degree of dissociation. Therefore, I will repeat that the degree of dissociation is nothing but the fraction of total number of mole dissociated to the total number of moles present is nothing but the degree of dissociation. Now that is about the concept involved in this ionic equilibria, electrolyte and the degree of dissociation. Then another lecture we will discuss about the next point. Okay, sir? Okay, student? Understood this point? Okay, right.